In our previous videos, we have set up GameMaker and then the room that we're going to be in, then our object player, and even got the object player to start moving around, just like you would expect. However, in our caverns, we want to create some enemies. In fact, we're going to have two different enemies. Now, they're going to have a lot of the same values and things going on inside of them. So we're going to create a parent object that they can inherit from. And if you're used to inheritance in anything from C++ or Java or C#, you know all about inheritance. If you're not, let's give you just a real quick idea of what it is. It means that I have a parent, and as a child object, I extend my parent, and then anything that is my parent's, this is things like variables, or what we call properties in object-oriented parlance, or functions, or what we call methods in object-oriented parlance. And so we can create a parent object and then create some enemy objects, and let's show you how to do that. So I'm going to come over here, select my objects folder, then click Create Asset, Objects, and I'm going to say obj enemy parent. Easy enough. Then I'm going to come over here and say Create Asset. I'm going to do another object, click Create, obj underscore enemy 1. And can you take a wild guess what's going to be my second object? Obj underscore enemy 2. So here I have all my objects listed together. I have an enemy. I define which is my parent and which isn't. I'm going to select my enemy 1. Come over here to my inspector and go down towards the bottom till I see my parent section. Select parent. It currently says no object. Then I'm going to find obj enemy parent. You can hover over it and then you can see it. I'm going to select that. And now you can see it's listed here. I need a sprite as well. So I'm going to click where it says no sprite. Click on my button. Select sprites, and I'm going to say sprite enemy 1. I'll let you do object enemy 2 on your own. You'll probably have a pretty good idea of how that's going to work. Now I need to drop some of my object enemy 1s into my room. So I'm going to come over here, double click on room 1, just so I see it. Select instances. I want to make sure that's selected. Come over here to my Asset tab and select Object Enemy 1, and I'm going to drop them just in a couple little places so you can kind of see them here. Like so. Okay, now I could fill them throughout my room if I want to, but you get the idea. Now I need to go in and create some script for my enemies, because right now my enemies are just going to sit there. They're not going to do anything. So I'm going to select them. I'm going to go to my assets, select my enemy. I'm going to choose enemy 1. In my asset panel inspector, I'm going to scroll all the way down to where I see variable definitions and click add variable. And this is going to give me a variable name and a default value. So I'm going to create 4 different variables. The first is going to be HP. Or you could think of this as hit points, okay? How many hit points, how much life does this enemy have? It's going to have 3. Click add variable. And I'm going to say damage. We're going to use this later. How much damage are they going to create? I'm going to type in 1. Add new variable. Speed, set that equal to 1. And then finally, I'm going to do distance, you should abbreviate DIST, to player. This is going to be how far in pixels before the enemy is going to recognize that the player's there and try to go attack them. I could type in this. I also have this little options that I can open up, and I can choose to use something different. For example, right now it's using real numbers. I can use integers, strings, etc. So that just gives you a little bit more and deals with data types a little bit. Now I'm going to come over here to my workspace area where I'm on my tab for object enemy 1. You can see I have multiple tabs open. I can open and close them as I need to. And I'm going to create an event. Specifically, I want to deal with the create event. So just like with my object player, it defines create, and then I can write some code in here. And this is automatically going to the function body for my create event. I'm going to specify my target X is equal to X, target Y is equal to Y. I'm just giving it some initial values. Now I want to set an alarm. An alarm is something that I can define as a period of time that I want something to occur. So I'm going to say alarm 0. This is because it's an array of alarms. And so when this alarm it goes off, it's going to then have an event handler for that alarm. I'm going to set it to 60, just like you see there. Next, I'm going to need to set my tile set that I'm going to look for collisions, because I don't want them colliding into walls or going through walls, just like I didn't want my object player. So I'm going to come over here to my object player code, as I already have it, and set tile map to be equal to layer tile map get ID tiles call. And I can come over here and do the exact same thing. You might say, well, wait a second, you already used tiles map. Yes, I did. But that is object specific code. It's specific to the object player. So when I have an enemy object, it can be two separate instances. They don't have to be the same, even though it turns out they do have the same value. So just a little bit of piece of code of information there. Next, I want to define what's going to happen on the step. Remember, the step is kind of like when I'm redrawing my frame. So I come up here to create, click the little plus button, choose step, and then choose step. This creates a new event handler for me for when I choose my step. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to specify my X and Y movement. And there's a special function I'm going to use to do this. So I'm going to specify var because I'm inside a function that's not part of the create. Remember, I have to use var. We talked about that earlier when we created our player object. Underscore HEOR equals, I'm going to specify clamp. So use clamp. Clamp is going to help us kind of rein in and specify an area so we don't go kind of crazy with how far we jump. Okay, it's going to make sure we don't go outside a certain range. The first thing we're going to have to specify is what value are we looking at. So we're going to have to do a little calculation. What's the difference between my target X location and my location? So I'm going to say target X minus X, comma, -1, comma 1. So this is saying that I'm looking for the distance between these two values. However, I'm going to limit me to some value between -1 and 1. I can't just jump and teleport 40, 50, 60 pixels away. I'm limiting myself. I'm going to do the same thing for my vertical positioning. So var underscore vert equals clamp target Y minus Y, comma, -1, comma 1. Now we're going to have to deal with the move, and we saw the move in collision from before. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say move underscore and underscore collide. Then we're going to specify how much are we moving. So underscore HOR times speed. That was the variable that we created. If we need to, we can come down here and look to see in the bottom left-hand side our variable definitions, comma, underscore VRT times speed, comma. Now we need to find what are we going to check for collisions against. And the thing is, we're actually going to have to look out for two different collisions. One for the tiles of our collision maps, which is our tile map, and then also for our player object. So we're going to put this into an array. So square brackets, and we're going to do tile map, comma, obj player, just like that. So this is going to check for collisions and make sure we don't go through them. Now, we still have a bit of work to do, okay? This is a start, and we're not going to worry about like different sprites for like what direction they're moving. So that's going to make our life a little bit simpler, but we still do have some work. That is going to be in our alarm. So over here where I have create, you notice how we got the little drop down arrow. This lets me jump between different functions, but the plus allows me to create a new one. I'm going to specify for alarm, specifically alarm 0. Now, a lot of things is going to happen in this because it's going to be checking every play second, which is about what that 60 was when we defined it earlier on. It's going to have us go out and check like, hey, every 60 ticks, 1 second, what's going on? And it's going to have some real basic, what might be called AI to see, hey, can the enemy see our player object and therefore want to go after it? So since I have this condition, I'm going to say if, and I want to see object underscore exist, obj underscore player, like that. And is going to be a double ampersand. Then we need to see, is the distance between these two objects less than the distance to player that they can see? So we have a special function called distance to object, distance to obj. We're going to specify player is less than dist to player. So you can kind of see how we've created this as a way for us to see if our distance is less than what we specify, kind of like how far we can detect a player, and that player exists. You'll see why that's important later on. Then we can detect them, and then we want to start to move towards them. So far in our step, we're checking our target X is equal to our X. When we haven't done anything, it's just sitting there. So let's specify what our target X and target Y are now if we have detected them. So I'm going to specify target underscore X equals obj player dot X, and target underscore Y is going to equal obj underscore player dot Y. So now we've updated this targeting, and it's going to try to move in our next step. Now you might say, well, what happens if it doesn't move? That's a great question. You know, what happens if I can't see it? Well, I probably want to just like have it kind of act like it's walking around and kind of moving around. So I'm going to specify else. So if our condition was not met, we're going to do something different. And I'm going to pick a random spot. So I'm going to say target X equals random underscore range. This is going to give us a range, and we're going to specify a beginning and ending point. So it's going to give us a number between these two numbers. So our initial element is going to be X start minus 100 comma X start plus 100. This is going to keep our object in the same basic area of where it starts out. We're not going to have it wandering the halls necessarily. This is not, you know, like following a path where an enemy is patrolling. This is just, I'm in this area and I'm kind of just staying in this area, moving around. Now this is only going to move us left and right. We need top and bottom. So we're going to specify target Y to equal random range Y start minus 100, comma, Y start plus 100. Now that this is done, you might think, okay, I'm done. Except how is it going to know what to do in the next second when the next alarm is supposed to go off? Because the alarm was done. So we're going to need to reset our alarm. So we're going to say alarm, square bracket 0, because this is, remember, an array of alarms. Give it a 60 counter, and therefore when it counts down, the alarm's going to go off and we're good. I'm going to save this real quick just so we can kind of test it. I'm going to run this. So here's my object. I get an error. And it says that my distance to object is not set before reading it. So let me close that. Okay, so I checked my code real quick. I made a small error. It should be object written out, not OBJ. I got used to doing OBJ with saying like object player, object enemy. Write out object. Let's save it and test it now. Now it's okay. I can move around. There's a character that's kind of moving back and forth like that. You can see it starts to follow us. If I get out of its distance, it stops following. And I have a small issue where they start to stack. I don't necessarily like that stacking. So let me close this real quick. Let's see how we're going to fix that. So I'm going to add a new method. So I'm going to click this little plus again, step, in step. So you notice it puts them right here. And I'm going to specify with all. So this is saying it's going to find all my objects, and what it's going to do is check to see, can I put these in different orders, different locations, etc. So they don't all stack one on top of each other. I'm going to specify depth equals negative B box. This is bounding box bottom. So these are built-in properties, so I can use those and click run again. Now you can see that as they follow, they don't try to line up. Oh, they just did. That's not supposed to happen. So we'll have to kind of go in and test that to figure out what's going on. But you saw it was keeping away from it for a little while, which is what we wanted. Now you might have also seen a little error, which was that this guy right here was appearing inside of our lava. You might say, well, how did that happen? Well, if I zoom in, you can see he's right next to the edge of our lava. So that's the reason why he's probably jumping. He's just too close. And so it was that kind of jump effect. It didn't handle that movement and collision because he just jumped there. So we would want to move him off to the side if we can. We'll go in here and select instances, select him now. We can move him out this way. That way we don't have that issue. So just kind of an idea of what you can do. Click on reset. We can go and look for other things to figure out why certain issues are occurring and try to fix them as we go on. So just kind of gives you a little heads up on that. Hopefully this is helpful for you. Of course, we're still not done, because what happens if one of these bad guys touches us, or what happens if we want to fight back? We need to establish combat. There's two different types we can look at, either turn-based or real-time. We're going to be looking at real-time combat in our next video coming up next.